Hi, welcome to Caribou Country Lifestyle. My name is Cheryl. Today it is an absolutely beautiful day, so I'm going to be planting my tomatoes and all of my above ground vegetables today. So we're at the first quarter to the full moon, and that is from June the 3rd to June the 11th. So I can be planting all my above ground annuals and any vegetables that have their seeds inside the fruit, and any like fruits as in melons, peppers, squashes, tomatoes, and then for beans, peas, and then any of your annual flowers for at this point. So today I am just going to be focusing my time on planting my vegetables. I'm going to be putting in my tomatoes and my peppers and my celery and all of that into the garden. So I'm just going to get myself organized and get my plants put together as far as what I'm going to be taking over to the raised bed garden area. I think I've got everything pretty much organized. I went around, threw out all the beds, and I weeded all of the beds on the most part. I might find the odd little weed here and there that I might have missed. And I have my bucket, so that's not a problem for that. I have read up on what I need to do on the vegetables as I go along. I'm starting with A, which is artichokes. These are artichokes that I started in the house. I actually had 3 and now I'm down to 2. So I'm going to be planting these artichokes at this end of the bed. On the sides I have carrots on this side, and on this side I have beets, and in the back I have Swiss chard. So with the artichoke I need to put in some compost, and also I'm going to be adding just all-purpose fertilizer. This is a 4-4-4 ratio. So I've got a bucket of compost, and I'm just going to dig a little trench in here. I'm gonna put in just a layer of compost into the bottom of the trench, and then I will sprinkle in some of this all-purpose fertilizer. I'll just mix that around a little bit underneath where the plants are going to be going, and then I'll just pop this plant out. And it said to put it into a sunny location. Well, this spot probably has the most sun. I'll stick my tag in here so I know what they are. And plant the other one on this other side. And there you have it. The artichoke. Once I've planted everything, then I'll go around and water everything. Okay, here's where I am going to be planting my asparagus. I'm just kind of leveling this out. So I have a few plants, and these are the asparagus seeds that I started indoors. So I'm going to be spacing these out about 12 to 18 inches apart. And most where it's sparse is at this end. So I'm going to plant another one here. And I'm going to add a handful of this all-purpose fertilizer before I put the plant in. I already got this dirt, amended it in the fall with compost, so I'm not going to add any more compost to it. And then I need another one over on this side, and I'll just plant it in front of that one. A little bit of fertilizer. And once I've planted these, then I will not be picking anything off of them for 3 years. But I have other asparagus that's already established in here, so that's not a problem. Oh, I forgot my fertilizer. And not every one of my plants took, but most of them did. So I don't know how many I have. Take a quick little count. I've planted 4, and I still have I have 11 plants here. So I got actually quite a few ended up making it, which is awesome. I'm getting close to my dill, which is okay because it's not going to, I'm not going to be picking anything from it. I just need, I'm going to bring this fertilizer a little closer. Okay. It's right beside my dill. Okay, in this bed, I am going to be planting my celery. I have 7 celery plants. They're supposed to be planted a foot away from each other, so I'm going to be planting them on a V diagonal because I want to try and get all 7. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that'll be totally good. So I'm going to be digging in some of this organic balanced fertilizer, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top. And then when I go to put these plants in, actually maybe I'll just kind of swish it around. Because again, this bed I already amended with compost, so I don't really need to add any more compost to the soil. So I'm just going to add the fertilizer to it. And so I'm going to space these out. Wonder if my little dibbler or dibble will work in this. Because then I can just drop the plants right in. That's about a foot. So this is going to work out probably just perfect. Celery needs lots of water, so if it's dry like it is going to be, I would be coming out here pretty much every day in the morning preferably and water, especially if I can't even get out to water everything. Make sure that the celery gets enough water each day if it's going to be hot. Today we are going to be in the mid-20s, like 23, 24, 25, probably it'll even be 26. And tomorrow it's going to be 30 degrees Celsius. So another really warm weather. I have a tag here. I'll just put it right in the middle so that I know. I love the celery. I planted my celery here 2 years ago, and I found that it did so good that I decided to plant it here again. It seems to like this spot. I think because it gets a little bit of protection, like from the full sun, from whatever I have growing up the panel, and also for the amount of water that you need to put on them. Okay, and that is it for my celery. I also already have planted I planted some sunflowers. So these are the sunspot sunflowers. I have one at this end, one at that end, and I just plunked them in along. They only get about 24 inches high, not very high at all. But I also planted my Joker sunflowers and my Color Fashion sunflowers, and I planted them in behind my asparagus on this bed, which is right across from where I planted my celery. This is going to be up against the panel. I am going to be growing my Marketmore cucumbers. I was going to grow them over there, but I've changed my mind, and that's what we do. So I'm growing some Marketmore cucumbers. I have 4 plants, and I'm going to be spacing them out about 8 inches in between each plant. And then in front of them, I'm going to be growing some eggplant. And I have 3 little eggplants from seeds that I started in the house. Before I grow these cucumbers, it says to put in compost and dolomite lime. I've already got the compost on the bed, so I'm just going to add a handful of dolomite lime, and I'm just running it down the row of the trench that I've dug in here. And then I'm just running my fingers through that lime just to have it so it's mixed into the soil. I'll put my tag in front. These are the Marketmore cucumbers that I purchased from our local nursery. It's called Horsefly Nursery. And what they do is they bring the nursery here into town, and then we can just purchase it. And we don't have to go all the way out to Horsefly to get that. It's about an hour, 45-minute to an hour drive from here. So, and I'm planting them fairly close to the panel. I put that one right on the end, and then I've just gone in, and then I have 2 more in this other pot. Just put my tag right in between them. Just gently split these up so I don't disturb the root too much. Put this one here. And the other one on this end. And then I'm going to plug in, I've already put little divots in my dirt, and I'm just going to plug in these eggplants. And this is the Black Beauty eggplant. And I'm planting them amongst my little volunteer carrot seeds that ended up coming up from last year. Oh, I'm going to need that to be a bit bigger. Sink that down. And the eggplant like the full sun as well, so they should like this spot. I'll plug this little bitty one right in here.
Hope you make it, little bitty eggplant.
So this is where I'm planting my, what is it called? The bush pickle cucumber. And again, I'm going to dig a little trench. Still quite nice and wet. Add the dolomite lime. Kind of stir it into the soil. Really nice, healthy plants. So this one at this end, and I have 4 of these as well. I got a little volunteer beet that made its way back this year. I'm just going to leave that in there. And then in front of my cucumbers that I'm planting are the arugula lettuce that I planted. And this will be the lettuce arugula that I pick first out of the plantings. This will be the first to be picked. It's not ready yet, but it's getting there. Now I'll plant this one at the end. Okay, that's it for the carrots. Cucumbers. It was supposed to be eggplant next, but that's why I showed you I was doing the eggplant right in front of that last, the Marketmore cucumber. So we'll just move on and go to the next one after eggplant. This plant that I'm growing next is fennel. I started this in the house. It actually turned out quite well. I bought actual fennel seed because last year I took some fennel out of my spice jars and planted that, but it didn't really turn out to be much of anything. So I'm gonna plant this fennel here. I have 6 fennel plants, and I'm gonna alternate them kind of like what I did with my celery. I don't need to put anything into the soil to amend it for the fennel. It just says to have it in a rich loamy soil, and I have lots of compost in my soil, so I'm just going to kind of do it as a diagonal for the fennel. I can plant fennel 8 inches apart, so it's a little closer than the celery. I bought some fennel in the grocery store, and I made it with some basa fillets, fish fillets, and it kind of has a licorice taste to it. It was quite yummy. My husband said that he liked that flavor of the fennel in there, so it was kind of a win-win. Okay. Get that one in there. And I've got 2 left. Yeah, these plants turned out a lot nicer than the ones that I did last year, so here's hoping they do good in the garden this year. Right here I am going to be growing my peppers. I acquired these little mini greenhouses from a friend. Thank you, Tassie. And I have here, these are what kind of peppers are these? These are the sweet banana peppers, and I have exactly 3 peppers. So I'm just going to put 3 plants in here, and then once I've planted them, then I'm going to pull this plastic up just over the top, but I'm going to leave the front open so it gets some good airflow getting in around, and it won't be too hot for them. So in the hole that I'm digging for the peppers, I'm going to put in a little bit of this balanced fertilizer. I'm just going to dig my holes right now. I ended up removing my volunteer onions that were in here because they were in the way of my little greenhouse hut that I have going on here. So another little pinch in there, and then we'll just tap these out. Put my pepper in. These are peppers that I did start from seed in the house. I have grown these sweet peppers before. They like the heat so much, but you also have to make sure that you're giving them plenty of water. Then I have jalapeno peppers that I'm going to be growing in pots on the deck. So I'm just bringing this plastic up just to here so that there's still airflow going in the front. And I'm just clipping these down with some little plant clips that I found just to keep the wind from blowing it off. And then I'm just tucking this plastic on the sides. On the back, I have little metal clamps that's holding the back down. But these sides, I'm just tucking underneath the frame of this raised bed. And so hopefully that will give them what they need for a good start. We have the King of the North peppers. Again, these are ones that I started from inside. They're looking actually quite lovely. I picked the best out of my plants, and then that was 3 of each, and the same with the sweet banana. I did the same. I picked the best out of those, and I'm just planting 3 plants in the garden. So again, I've already dug the holes. I've already put the balanced fertilizer in. I'll just pull this down in the front. Clip that down. And clip that down. And then they're protected as well. So that looks good. Okay, last but not least, I'm finally planting the tomatoes. So these are all tomatoes that I have started. I have 14 varieties of tomatoes that I'm going to be planting, 2 of each variety. And I'm just starting with the first one that I come to, and that is the Oxheart. Oxheart are an amazing looking tomato. They literally have the shape of a heart. And I am going to plant it fairly close underneath the support so that I can start staking it once it's tall enough to be staked. I'm planting it down fairly deep. Just a sec. I forgot the fertilizer. A little balanced fertilizer. Then let's put the plant in. And I kind of like to make a little well around the plant so that when I'm watering it, it just kind of falls in towards the plant and then waters that plant. Okay, and then over from that. And I just watered these this morning, so they're definitely well watered. Next, these are Valencia. I have not grown Valencia before. The reason why I picked the Valencia was because they are low in acid and low in seeds. And I will plant the first one here, and then I will go in and plant the next one right here. And then in front of my, before I forget, a little sprinkle of that. In front of my tomatoes, I will be growing basil. And I do have some store-bought basil, and I have some that I started myself. I try to plant my tomatoes as deep as I can, and it is so warm. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 30 degrees Celsius, so she's gonna be hot. I had my youngest son come and help me bring up the air conditioner. We have a portable window air conditioner so that my husband could install it into the window tomorrow, because we usually have family over on Sundays and I like to be able to use my oven, so that's going to make that a little easier. I've already dug my little holes here. Just going to put in a little handful of my all-purpose fertilizer. The next one is the Old German. These are, I know I say these about pretty much all the tomatoes. I mean, I wouldn't plant them if I didn't love them. Well, okay, there's a couple that I plant that are not my ultimate favorite, but these are. So I really like these. I'm just snapping off the bottom leaves because they're so close and they're very tiny. And I just try to plant it as close, because within no time I'm going to be able to start staking these up to my panel. Okay, this tag looks a little darker. I can read it better, so I'll put that one in between the two, which I like to do. I put one tag in between two plants, and then I just push it down as much as I can sink it down to. Make my little well. Next to it is going to be the Aunt Ruby's German green. Huh. My favorite. I have been planting these for, this will be my 3rd year that I have planted these. I was watching Jess on Roots and Refuge, which is another YouTube gardening video that I watch, and she was the one that had mentioned about these, and I was like, I planted them the first year. I was, oh my gosh, these are amazing. I'll just snap that off. I'm just putting it right into the hole with my plant. In this bed, I am going to be planting some black Krim slicer tomatoes and some Amish paste, a very large Roma tomato. They're absolutely wonderful. But because I didn't amend this soil in the fall, I'm going to be adding a handful of compost and some fertilizer. Some for that one, some for that one. There, there. A pinch there. There. Ah! And there. These are some really nice looking plants. These are probably the healthiest ones that I have. Really nice root system on these as well. Just gonna dig this down a little bit more. I just want it a little deeper. And then but I'm super impressed with these plants. Push this up. I'm going to break that one off. Push it right down. In the fall, I'll definitely amend this bed with compost. Okay, and then for the Amish paste. Just digging this down a little further. Take off these bottom leaves. This one will take a little bit before it gets up to the panel. Plus, for some reason, this panel is a little higher up than some of the other ones. And there's my tag. I'm going to be growing the Carnival blend, which is in the Brandywine family. And then beside it, I'll be growing my favorite cherry tomato, the Sun Gold cherry tomato. So here will be the Carnival blend. These are very small tomatoes. It took them a while to sprout, actually, and I think that had a lot to do with how big they are. But I'm sure they'll still grow some beautiful big slicer tomatoes. Okay. That'll take them a while to get to that panel, I'm pretty sure. And then these are my Sun Gold. In front of these tomatoes, I have the Purple Vienna kohlrabi. These are really nice, healthy tomatoes that are growing here, almost tall enough to stake. They're almost there. Won't have to wait long before I'll be staking these babies. I've had some really healthy looking tomatoes, the black Krim, and these were probably my healthiest looking ones. And this Sun Gold, both of them, actually already have flowers on them too. So I'm gonna break those bottom leaves off. I just push them right in the hole, and then I just push this plant down as far as I can push it. I'm not hurting the plant, and I'm not hurting the roots. Those roots are just going to love the fact to be spreading out and making more. That's the thing about tomatoes. Tomatoes make their roots so fast that I'm not worried about that at all. My garlic, and I'm planting my tomatoes behind my garlic because this garlic is going to get pulled out before my tomatoes even start. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've got flowers on these ones. These ones here are the Mystery Roma. So, we'll get a spot dug, and then we'll add our fertilizer. And this was the reason why I planted my garlic here, was because I knew it wasn't going to be staying, and it wouldn't impede on my tomatoes, with my tomatoes growing up and going to be staked. Okay, and I got this one over here. Nice big fat juicy earthworm in that hole. So there we go. A little bit of fertilizer for everyone. I ended up buying some celeriac seeds or plants, And I planted them on the other side of this fence panel in front of my other garlic that I have there. Okay, so this is a Manitoba, and it is actually a bush style plant, which I usually only plant indeterminate tomatoes in the garden. But I have found that growing tomatoes on my deck has not been the best. Now I'm not going to be able to have all my tomatoes out here, but I am trying a few bush tomatoes out in the garden and see if they do any better. I mean, it's always good to try, because you won't know if you don't try. And if they're successful, then I may not grow tomatoes on the deck at all anymore. It's just that easy. Okay, and then this other one is the Mystery Roma. Put the tag there. These are some nice plants too. They're not as tall, and these are seeds that I collected from plants that I grew last year. So I was really impressed by that too. Got an earthworm there. Put that back in the hole with the tomato. And the last of the tomatoes in the raised bed garden. A little pinch of fertilizer. These are the New Girl tomatoes. I'll have to make a tag because I just noticed I brought out 2 plants without a tag. I left the tags back with my other New Girls that I'm not using. This one was a little bit more spindly, but it was my next best looking one. Okay, these are the Celery, another bush style tomato, but like I said before, I've tried planting these on the deck and they actually haven't, they just don't produce the tomatoes like they do out here in the garden. So I have my tag for the Celery. I'm gonna pluck that one off and put this plant in. Then really all I have left to do now is just plant some flowers. And I'm not gonna bring you along for me to plant. I'm just gonna plant some calendula. I am gonna plant that basil also. So I have, the Lavaterra, the borage, and then I'm just gonna plug some sweet pea seeds around my panels so they can grow up over the panels, and then I'll have these beautiful sweet smelling sweet peas. So I'm gonna make up a tag for this New Girl so that I have that done as well. I did bring out markers with a Sharpie pen, and then I'm also going to put out my little decorative tags that my brother-in-law made me last year for Christmas, I think it was, and off of his 3D printer. And so I gave him a list and he did up a bunch of tags for me, so I'm gonna go and put those around. I totally forgot about those until I went down to go find something and I came across these tags and I was like, my gosh, why am I not putting these in? And water everything, and then I have to go have a shower because we're going out for dinner to my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's. Had to have dinner and to play a game of Mahjong. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this video, put a like in there, and if you haven't subscribed, you might want to subscribe and hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for joining me. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.